I'm Mike. I'm 51 years old. Starting out as a young kid, I had a great childhood. I can't complain about that at all. My parents were great. Just normal things like a lot of families had and stuff. My mom drank a lot, but I didn't really understand that that was a problem or anything like that. To me, that was normal. All the parents around us drank everything, so we didn't pay a whole lot of attention to that growing up. But I guess at the age of probably 11 years old, I started smoking pot. That seemed normal too. Everybody around me did that. Everybody where we grew up at, I don't think there was a kid around. If they didn't smoke pot within a year or two, they probably were. That seemed like the thing to do at that age. And again, it didn't seem like a big deal. That was very normal. But I had a brothers that had a cleaning business, and they would go clean Sizzlers at night, and I always thought that was cool, of course, to hang out with my older brothers and stuff. So I would go with them a lot to do that, but that turned into, by the time that I was probably 12 years old or so, turned into we would rush through the cleaning of it, and they would have the beer taps open. So, of course, my brothers being older and stuff like that, they didn't think it was a big deal. They also thought it was funny to watch me get drunk. And I think it started out pretty innocently. Nobody was intended for anything to come out of that or anything bad. Nobody could foresee that, I guess. So what it turned into is us just drinking every night. We would go in and we'd clean these places. And we had 2 or 3 of them. So we would go into one and clean and start drinking. And for me, I was 100 pounds. So at the first one, I was drunk. And we would have 2 or 3 other ones that we'd have to clean that night. And making it home at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, you know, I can remember several times that we pulled in and we'd sleep in the car, or my sister would come out and get us and just be beside herself with us, that we were all drunk. And that fact that we drove home that way. But I really just didn't pay attention that was going to be a really big problem, I guess, later on in life. By the time I was in 8th grade, I think I was 15 years old, 14. I'd already had truancy because I'd missed half the school year. So I had my parents already in trouble and stuff. And for some reason, my parents didn't even pay a whole lot of attention to what we were doing. I don't know that they just ignored it. I don't understand how they didn't catch on to what we were doing every daggone night. I mean, they knew we were going and cleaning the places, but I guess they were already in bed asleep and they had to get up early, and they didn't pay attention to that particular part of us coming in drunk every night. But, and I didn't think it would be a problem either. I thought I was the cool kid. I was the one that all of my friends wanted to come stay all night with me because we was going to go clean the Sizzlers and get drunk. So they were like, heck yeah, we're going to stay all night with Mike tonight. But it really turned me off towards school. I seen that my brothers were making money and things like that. I had a really rough time in school anyways, as far as reading and writing and things like that. So the money was more of a, caught my eye, right? You know, just something shiny over there. Caught my eye, and I wanted to make money. So somehow I made it to high school. I don't even know how that happened. They should have never passed me and put me in there. And I got a job that summer of my freshman year, and making money, and so I came in and I quit school. My dad let me quit, but what the promise was that I would go to night school at that time. And so I'm going to night school, but we're staying so drunk and stuff from being out of town and stuff. You know, of course, I'm not cleaning at that time. I'm out of town every week working with all older gentlemen and stuff like that. And of course, them being construction, that's all they're doing, drinking and smoking pot. Seemed normal on it. We're getting still, you know, I'm 16, 17 years old. I think I'm actually doing something. I'm bringing home a paycheck every week. All my friends are in school, but I'm rolling in every Friday. I've got a car. I've got a paycheck. I thought, you know, I had arrived. Wasn't doing very well with anything else. I'd blow my money. I didn't learn any good values through any of that at all, except how to drink more. At that time, I met, I guess I did that for about 3 or 4 years. I met my wife now. She was younger than me, and we started dating. And I was going out to bars all the time with some of my friends when I was at home. And I ended up sleeping with a young lady from a bar one night, cheating on my girlfriend, which is my wife now. And the girl that I slept with got pregnant. Of course, that ended that relationship with who's my wife now. At that time, it ended my relationship with her. And I started dating the young lady that I slept with, and that was pregnant with my child. We stayed together for quite some time. We had my daughter was born through that, which was an absolute blessing. My son was born through that. We started attending church. We got convicted one day of how we were living. We ended up getting married shortly after that. I didn't know it at the time, but that was going to be the love of my life. At the time, I thought it was. Let's put it that way. So we get married, and everything seemed to be good. God had blessed me with a small business. That started taking off really well. We started signing really big contracts, Dogwood Homes, places like that. So money was really rolling in. Things were really looking good. Every now and then I'd get that sick pit in the bottom of my stomach. Something was wrong. And after a couple years of being married, people would come to me and tell me, they see my wife with this guy, they see my wife with that guy. And I didn't believe them. That was, when they say love is blind, it's so true. I didn't believe any of them. I thought they were absolutely lying. And I would confront my wife with it, and she'd be like, no, that's not true at all. And all that has meaning towards the end of this. So that's why I'm sharing this particular part. I lived like that for 18 years. Things always being said. We would drink a lot, real heavy, quite often. We started getting into pills, taking Xanaxes and things. A lot of times I just found myself trying to blend in with them, with the crowd that she was hanging with, whatever they were doing. That's how I ended up getting into Xanax. You know, it became really bad with the Xanax. You would black out a lot for me. I was a blackout drunk, so we would go out, and I wouldn't even remember how we got home. Nothing. And this was 2 or 3 nights a week that this was going on. Through that process, I had a couple friends that I met that were really close, lived close by me, and we would all party together. One night we were, I would always drive my vehicles drunk. I don't know what it was, something in me. I'd have a couple drinks and I'd be like, I got this, give me my keys. I don't get it. I never was a good alcoholic, ever. 2 or 3 beers, I'm a mess. And I had no business behind the wheel, and that's all it took for me because I was a little bitty guy. For some reason, one of my buddies lived about 3 or 4 miles down the street. We decided we were going to get in a vehicle and we were going to drive to his house and get whatever it was. It was pot, it was pills, it was something of that was at his house, and I guess we were going to go pick it up. Honestly, don't remember that particular part. When I woke back, I remember getting in the truck. The next thing that I remember, we're wrapped around a tree right down the street from his house. It's on his side of the vehicle. He had broke his pelvis, or broke his hip, I'm sorry, on the side. Messed the whole right side of his leg up. He didn't, I did it. Messed his right leg up. Just really very, very bad shape. I got out of the vehicle. We were so close to his house. I got out of the vehicle and run up and got his parents. Cops wasn't called. They come and his parents come and got him, took him to the hospital. And he was in a wheelchair for probably about a year. Nothing changed at that point. You know, I'd hurt one of my really good friends at that time, and I didn't even see it at all. His parents couldn't stand me at that point. You know, I was blamed for everything that he was doing. And the drugs and the alcohol and things that he did, of course, was not necessarily my fault or anything. I didn't introduce him to any of that. We just partied together kind of thing. But I do remember one time going over to visit him, and his mom did not like me at all. But I didn't catch on that she didn't want me in the house. And I'd go over there anyways, to visit him anyways, while he was still in the wheelchair. And I bent over to untie my shoes, and Xanaxes and weed fell out of my jacket pocket in front of her. She was absolutely beside herself. Had every right to be at that. But at that moment, I thought, what is her problem? That's how naive I was, and how, I don't know, just blinded to all of it, I guess. I don't know how else to say it. Ignorant to the whole situation. So anyways, I kind of left him at that moment. Now that I think about it, I mean, you know, it really makes me feel bad when I look back at my past like that. I left that guy in that situation. I mean, his parents didn't want me around or anything, but I really wish I would have led him in a different way. We walked astray from the church, of course. Most of my life I went to church. My parents didn't or anything, but I did. There was always a pull towards the Lord for me. I don't know what it was. It wasn't talked about in my house. Nobody in my house went to church. I was the only one. You know, there was times that when I was really young, you know, the Sunday school bus went by. For some reason, I wanted to get on it. Don't ask me why. Because I didn't like school. But nobody, God wasn't talked about in my house. So, fast forward a little bit there. Coaching football for many years out here for the Vikings and things. And the whole time, we're drinking and we're partying. I had no business being out there on the field with those kids a lot of the times. Got introduced to cocaine, which was very bad for me. It got a hold of me, something fierce. It was one of the hardest things that I've probably ever quit, never got away from. I'd find myself in the garage at 2 o'clock in the morning, you know, doing cocaine, dumb things like that. Find myself walking off the field to go do cocaine. You know, I mean, it was really bad. It was probably one of the hardest habits I've ever tried to kick. It controlled my life. It controlled everything for many, many years. It actually, me and my wife separated for about a year, and over it. She didn't do it. She took Xanaxes and drank, and she couldn't handle both of them. It seemed like she was never out of control. But it seemed like that she was trying to get me drunk half the time, or trying to get me to eat more Xanaxes, so that I would be out of control. Not saying she intentionally did that, but today it sure feels that way at times. She did a lot of things behind my back, and cheating and things quite often during those times like that, like literally with people that we knew, our friends, and things like that were hanging out with us. And so that type of stuff was going on behind my back all the time. It doesn't justify anything that I did or anything like that. You know, at the same time, maybe I was the reason for it. I was verbally abusive. I thought I was somebody. I had money. I had a small business. You know, we made a lot of money, and I thought I was better than everybody. I really did. I was arrogant. I was a terrible boss to my guys that were working hard, that were good people. I treated them like crap. I talked down to them all the time. I just really thought that I was better than everybody. I thought that I had arrived, and really God had blessed me with that money, and I just abused the whole situation. Um, I ended up kicking my wife and my kids out for cocaine and to have sex with another woman. I literally put them on the street for that. That's where cocaine led me. No matter what she was doing, my kids didn't deserve that, and you know, she didn't deserve that kind of treatment either. What I was doing behind her back at that time, I just didn't care anymore. We had problems ourselves, so that's where the other female came into play. There was we wasn't, I guess, we never made love ever. That wasn't something that was in the cards for us. I guess, I don't know, she just wasn't attracted to me because I was a smart aleck or jerk, or what it was that caused that. But after 10, 15 years of that, I started, you know, pushing the other way towards somebody that would give me attention and that would care. Honestly, I never see myself doing that. She was the only one that I cared about. I loved her with all my heart. So anytime anybody would tell me that she was doing something, I never believed them. I believed every word that came out of her mouth. So I kicked them out, and I'm doing cocaine like crazy. I'm about in my early 30s, and I lost my house. I lost my job, or my business. I ended up moving back in with my mom. I was probably about 35 years old at that time. I would see my kids just about every weekend, but I would pawn them off on my sister, which lived right next door to my mom, so I could do drugs. Thank God she was around. She pretty well much raised them kids for me for a long time. I would be there, and they would stay with me and sleep with me in my room in my parents' house. But I was always drunk or on Xanaxes, doing coke. I would pot them off on her so that I could stay up all night doing coke. I starting to see that drinking was a problem. Every time I turned around, I was, you know, somebody, and my brothers or my sister or somebody was like, "Man, you've got to quit drinking." They didn't want me around at family functions because I'd either be on Xanaxes falling around all over the house, or I'd be drunk. I'm sure I wasn't a lot of fun to be around. So they would bring me to the family functions, but you could see it in everybody's face. They didn't want me there. I was there because I was the little brother. That was the only reason, or my kids were there. My sister would have my kids, so that would be a reason why they would be there. So I was trying to quit drinking. I thought that was the problem. I'd set the cocaine down. It was on my son's, I want to say it was like his 9th birthday, 10th birthday. My sister had him a birthday party next door, and I am strung out on coke, just completely out of it. And my son's out there begging me to get in the swimming pool with him. And all I could think about was going to do another line. So I never did. That day I never did get in the pool with him. I felt like I ruined that day. It was like everybody knew. When you're doing that stuff, you think everybody around you knows that you're on it. And they may not know anything, but you sure feel like they do. Like, boy, they know what I'm doing. I mean, it's overwhelming with the guilt and the shame and at that time. And I didn't never want to see that look on my son's face again. So I sit down cocaine that day. Never touched it since. It's been a very long time ago. Anyway, so I knew the alcohol was becoming a situation. Everybody was getting on me all the time about it. So I tried to start sitting that down. It was working pretty good. I wasn't drinking. And then I thought it'd be a smart idea to date a bartender. At that time, it took me and my wife like probably 5 years to get a divorce. So through all those years, I was dating people. Honestly, I had no intentions of ever settling down with another woman, would be the best way that I could put it. That was out of the question. I was never going to commit my life, my time, my money to someone again. That was out of the question. Kind of ruined that for me. So I started dating this lady. I didn't know that she had drug issues or anything like that. I never seen it. Seemed like a nice lady, and I would go and sit with her at the bar while she worked. I didn't drink. So at this time, it had been probably 9 months to a year that I hadn't had a drink. I'm still eating pills. I'm still smoking weed. As far as that goes. So I went up to the bar one night, and I remember sitting down up there, and she fixed me a drink. And that's about, I don't remember much more after that. I know that she got off in an hour when I got there, time frame wise. So when I had that drink, I was thinking, well, I can only drink one or two and we're going to be out of here. I'll be fine. I was always trying to find a way to, even, years before, a way to drink, and drink safely. For me, right? So I'm going from wine to exactly. I've been in AA for years, and today I can say it relates to the big book very well because it talks about how you'll go from one thing to another, always trying to find a way to drink and manage it, right? Fix, manage, and control drinking. But it would always end up out of control. So that night, I don't know what happened. To say that I have no idea, I only know what she's told me. After this process, and she says that I was talking to my ex-wife for some reason on the phone, that it turned into an argument in the parking lot of the bar after she had got off of work. We left out of there. I had a little sports car at that time, and I'm working for my brother. I'd lost my business, and I was working for my brother. They said I never shift gears. They never heard it shift gears. So I left out of the parking lot of that place, hit a bridge wall. As this right up here in Shepherdsville, the depot. I left out of the depot, hit the bridge wall underneath the railroad tracks, and the first telephone pole on your left, I snapped in half. On her side of the car. Her head hit the window and hit the telephone pole. It broke her pelvis in half. She had significant brain injury. We woke up and I woke up and we're in U of L hospital. I believe that's where it was. I don't want to be wrong, but we was in the hospital. She's laying beside me. They're trying to save her life. I'm freaking out. I had no idea what had happened, but I did know that I was driving. That thought went through my mind. I stayed that day with her at the hospital for several hours. I still had blood all over me and things like that. So I went home to get cleaned up, and I left the hospital. And she's in ICU at this point. And she's in critical condition. They don't know if she's going to live. I went home to get cleaned up, tried to come back. They wouldn't let me back in the hospital. Her parents and family didn't want me back in there. And at that time, I was very confused, but today I get it. I understand why they didn't want me in there. So I would like to say that it was I was worried about her, um, but that would be a lie because I was selfish and self-centered. Um, I was worried about going to prison for the rest of my life. That's to just being honest about it. That's what I was worried about. Um, After about 2 months, um, they did release her to go home. She couldn't remember hardly anything. Somehow, some way, she remembered my phone number. Didn't remember anything about us. But she was like, "There's something that's pulling me towards you." I go pick her up. She's in a wheelchair. I have to take her to the bathroom. I have to give her a bath. All these things and take care of her. I'm doing all these things, and I get a paper in the mail that says I've been indicted by the grand jury. I didn't think it was a big deal. I thought, I've got her here at home with me. I didn't know anything about those types of things. So I go to court thinking they're just going to indict me for a DUI. I'm going to get a DUI for that night, and I'm going to come home. They indicted me with first-degree assault, a list of charges. It was outrageous. And I was facing 28 years. So I went from thinking I'm going to get out of jail the next day to looking at 28 years. She's living in my mother's house with me, and I'm taking care of her. She's, at this point, I think we had her on a walker at times. That's how she was getting around, and the other time she would be in a wheelchair. My sister, bless her heart, would set up court dates constantly. It seemed like every week, but I think it was like every other week. I'm in front of Judge Burris. And they're trying to get me a bond, trying to get me out of jail. My sister's doing everything she can to pay lawyers and everything constantly. Finally, after about 3 or 4 months, every time we would go in front of him, they would set a bond. They'd set it at $150,000. Somehow my family would figure out a way. We'd go in front of the judge a couple weeks later. They would raise the bond. They wanted me to stay in there, and that's where I deserved to be. At the time, it was driving me nuts, but I can see God's hand in everything. It was necessary for me to stay in there. So I went through that for about 3 or 4 months. Finally, one of my friends that I was in there with, Roger, and he said, "Man, you just need to sit down. You're not getting out anytime soon. I'm pushing, trying to get out of here. This is a lifestyle that I'm not used to at all. I'm sitting behind bars every day. I'm 36 years old, sitting in there with 18-year-olds every day. Just a conversation alone was driving me nuts. Not that I didn't deserve to be there. I should have been there. I should just now be getting out, honestly. So I didn't tell y'all, but at this time, I can't read or write. I'm 36 years old. I'm sitting in jail. I've been there for 4 months. I don't know how to read or write. All those times of drinking, all the way through middle school and all these things like that. That's why I didn't like school. Anytime that I was in there, I was made fun of and stuff because I couldn't read and write. So it was fine with me getting out of school like I did. Today I can say that's probably why I quit school. I wanted to get out there and get around people that didn't know I couldn't read or write, but I could work. So I fit into that. I was trying to get in an area I could fit in. That guy sat down with me on my bed. And it took me a month to read my first book and to know every word that was in that book. But as hard as that guy was, I mean, I watched him beat people up in there for their food, all kinds of things. He had a kind enough heart to sit down with me and to teach me how to read. I read my first book in jail. First time I'd ever read one. I opened up the Bible for the first time in jail. I know a lot of people find religion and things in there. I thought that's how it was going to work for me. Every time that I would go in that courtroom, that girl would be in there that I had the car wreck with. About 5 months into it, my sister pulls off a miracle, and she had pulled together every dime that she could. She had got a young lady that had just got out of college that was a lawyer. They got a retired judge. I mean, all these things just is God putting every little step together. Got a retired judge to sit down with us, with a police officer on the scene, all these things. And I was getting ready to take 8 years. I was tired of it. I was ready just to go ahead and go behind the fence and be done. And they got me shocked out. I didn't know it at the time, but I would have to go back in front of Judge Burris, and he would have to agree to these terms in order to shock me out on this. He did agree to them, but exactly what he told me was, I'll see you back in here and you'll be doing the rest of those years. I'd quit smoking cigarettes. Didn't think I'd ever touch a drink again, or do anything else. I made all these promises to myself while I was in there, right? I'm going to serve the Lord. I had been going to church every time that I didn't care what church it was. They called for church when we were in there, I was in there. I would go every time and just trying to get in the Word and try to study the Word. And it was very hard to do because, like, again, my reading and writing skills were very, very limited at that time. It was better that I stuck to regular books because understanding the Bible just wasn't going to happen. I was more concerned of my freedom than I was of understanding God's Word. So, you know, if you're not prepared for God's Word, you're not going to understand it anyways. So I get shocked out. I walk out of that place and I lit a cigarette and I went home, and within 2 or 3 nights I was in the bar. I started the process all over again. I wasn't doing any drugs, but I was already drinking just that fast. I can remember me and my brother going to bars and getting drunk right off the bat. Ended up having to move out and get my own place, and during that time I'm hiding. I'm on probation, real strict probation. I'm not allowed to be around alcohol in any way, shape, or form. I'm hiding it over the hillside, just in case they showed up. Again, I try to fix, manage, and control situations. I went from whiskey to, well, I'll just drink beer. Went from, well, beer ain't working, I'm still getting drunk. I'm going to wine. Still getting drunk on that. I'm a year into probation, and probation officer says, you haven't been going to AA meetings, and by the way, I seen you last night. Do you remember seeing me? And I said, no, I don't remember seeing you at all. I basically called him a liar. And he was like, well, I was the drummer. This is a man that I played football with, youth league football, when I was a kid. And so we had actually were acquaintance growing up and things. And they tell me that I've got to start doing 2 meetings a week in AA, and I have to start having drug tests every 2 weeks. So I had to set everything down. So for the next 4 to 5 years, it was a struggle. Every now and then I would smoke a joint or something, and then I would be trying to wrestle to get clean before the time to go take the P test. I got in AA and actually sit in them rooms. And for the first little while, it was real annoying. I didn't want to be there. I was in there with all these drunks. Little did I know I was one of them. But that's how I felt when I walked in there. And then I started listening to them speak, and they started saying things that I wanted to have that. These guys were paying their bills on time. They were, happy. I would walk in a room and they'd be laughing, and I would think that they were laughing at me. Um, I was that, I don't know, I guess I thought everything was about me. So I would actually get offended if I walked in the room and they were laughing and stuff and carrying on. I felt like they were making fun of me or something. But I started listening to some of the old timers in there, and I just really wanted what they had, the peace and the joy that they had in their life without the drugs and the alcohol. It was beautiful to me. The fact that they paid their bills and had money left over, and they wasn't financially worried about anything. For the last couple of years, 5 years, it had been a real struggle for me financially, and all my life, I went to the dope man's house before I came home with my paycheck. Even when I was well off and I had money for many years, and a lot of it, I would go to the dope man's house. I can remember my sister one time telling me she handled the other side of our business, and she would write me my checks. And she would say, "You pay your house payment every week." Every week I would say, "I need $2,000. I got the house payments due." And she would like, "You pay your house payment every week." I literally would never make it home with my paycheck. I would be stopping and buying pills, cocaine, whatever it may be. Or we'd be hitting the bars on a Friday night and spending $500 a night in bars. Just really reckless with our money. So I'm at the end of my probation. I'm in AA. We opened up a meeting up here, Shepherdville Serenity. I completely swore off drinking. That came with one night I'm sitting in the house, and I was on probation about a year and a half into it. Like I said, we're hiding liquor over the hill, and I hear my daughter crying. And at this time, she's probably about 13, 14 years old. And I'm dating a young lady that her children are there too, and today they're my kids too. I still talk to them every day. I love them with all my heart. They're mine, as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, so I thought one of them done hit her with something or something. She's a real quiet, little shy thing sitting over in the corner. And I come running in there, and I'm like, "What's wrong?" And she's crying, and she looks up at me, and she said, "I won't come see you behind that glass again." And I had no idea that that's what she was in her room crying about. It was because I was in there drinking. That was the last night that I had a drink. That's been 14 years now. I'd like to say that I've been sober that long. I have from alcohol, I have from cocaine, but it didn't end there. Once I got off of probation completely, just like I said, I wrestled with pot the whole time, here and there. Once I got off completely, I picked pot back up and started smoking that. During these times, I would always try to go to church. I don't know what it was to pull towards the Lord all the time, but I would try to go to church. And I never would see his blessing on getting out, without serving 28 years. That young lady surviving, the damage that I caused to so many people through the drunkenness and just always being drunk, always being on Xanaxes. My sister constantly rescuing me from situations. I'll talk about the ones where I was in jail and she was paying all that, but there's plenty of times that she had to come pick me up on the side of the road. Cops couldn't figure out what was wrong. Well, he's not drunk, but he can't walk. And she would have to come pick me up. It's because I was on pills, and things like that. So, but So I'm off the probation at this point. I haven't had a drink in a couple years. Sobriety part of it was pretty good, except for, like I said, I would get into smoking weed every now and then. That would fade off maybe for a couple months, and then somehow I'd pick it back up, and it was just an ongoing thing. I started dating again, but I was very reckless. I had no intentions of staying with them. I'd tell them what they want to hear, and then just destroy their lives. Later on, I would figure out that that was just like a self mechanism, I guess, to defense. I didn't want to give in to anybody, because when I did that before, that blew up in my face, really bad. I felt like I lost everything. I wanted to blame everything on my ex-wife, but that's just absolutely not the case in any way, shape, or form. It was me. I was a drug addict. I was an alcoholic, and that could have been the reasons why she did what she did as well. So I ruined a lot of women's lives with just simply telling them what they wanted to hear, just to sleep with them. That's all there was to it. I started coming to Field of Grace. This was probably about 4 years ago. I started coming to Field of Grace. I was invited by several different people, Pastor Mark Weird and Justin, and a few of them were all inviting me. I came to Power of Grace a few times because I was in recovery quite often. So I started coming here, and the wild thing is somehow the Lord seen it fit that my wife now, she never got married. She was with a man for 20 years. They had 2 kids, and they ended up separating. And somehow we ended up starting talking again. I am still, though, into wrecking women's lives, left and right. I started coming to Field of Grace, and I knew that at that time that, I don't know how to put it, but they just basically didn't serve the Lord. They didn't believe. She was raised to believe in the Lord, but the man that she had been with all these years didn't really believe, as far as what I knew. I can't really speak for him, but they didn't live in that manner. So when I looked at her and told her, I'm going to church, I thought that would run her off. I was looking for a way to get rid of her, if I'm real honest with myself. 100%, I was trying to get rid of her. I had other plans. So I'm at Field of Grace, and she looks at me and says, okay, well, let's go then. I've been 2 or 3 times. I came without her, with probably the wrong intentions when I was coming too. I think at that time I was looking for other people, but God had a plan. We start coming to Field of Grace, and I tell her, we can't live together. You're going to have to go live with your parents. We got to do these things right. But that was a lie. I was just trying to do things behind her back. I tried to make it about God, and it was about me. I wasn't being honest with her or anyone else, but I never had been. There was some kind of pull that anytime I was at church, the Lord always tell me to pray for people. I would always hear that quiet, soft voice. Go pray for that person. Go pray for that person. And that happened for many years, but at Field of Grace, it seemed to be stronger. So anytime somebody would hit that altar, I would literally try to stay in my seat or just keep worshiping. And I would have a pull to go to that altar, and pray for them people and intercede for them. And so I started doing that. And then I was asked to be on the altar team. Mind you, at this time, I'm not living right. I'm lying to what is my wife now. Telling her we can't live together. It's not right in God's eyes. And the whole time I just had ill will. It was. If I wasn't doing something, I was thinking about doing something. God's working on me the whole time, and I didn't see it. So I'm on the altar team now. But I'm still living awful. From time to time, I'm smoking pot. I haven't done any types of other drugs in many years, but I would still smoke pot from time to time. My wife's, which is my wife now, is coming to church with me on Sundays, but she's only seeing me a couple days a week. That went on for probably a year and a half like that. Like I said, I'm always doing something ill will towards her behind her back. And they started asking me to be a leader here at Field of Grace. But that came with certain requirements. You had to be married and things like that. When they mentioned that, I thought, well, I'll just never be a leader at Field of Grace. That won't happen because I'll never marry somebody. I'm never going to settle back down like that. But I started talking to a few guys in church and stuff, and every time that I would talk with them, they would ask me how my prayer life was. And I would come back with, we're not talking about my prayer life. I'm asking you questions, about what, I'm suffering with this, I'm suffering with that, whatever it may be. I'm not hearing from the Lord. And I couldn't see the connection with the whole prayer life thing. I didn't understand it. It was never broke down to me. I'm hardly ever in my Bible. If the pastor catches my eye with something that he says, I may mark that in my Bible and then go back and read it that night a little bit. But that's probably the only night of the week that I'm in my Bible. The rest of the time I'm in my flesh. And I'm just thinking about what I want and where I want to be. And I'd asked the Lord one night, I can remember, I was like, don't ever give me money again. I've been coming here for about 2 years at the time. I was like, don't ever give me money again, because it makes me a person that I don't want to be. I don't want to be that arrogant person like that ever again in my life. I think that I'm better than people again. And my prayer life actually starts to increase because I talked to a few guys and it started making sense that, I need to start praying more. As I started praying more, the Lord just keeps putting it on my heart to get married. I need to get married. I need to do the right thing. I need to do the right thing. And I fight this. I fight this for like a year straight. I do not want to get married. It wasn't the woman that I was with. It wasn't my wife. It was me, 100%. And I just didn't want to give up my lifestyle of being able to go do what I want when I want. And what I mean by that is see other women. I didn't want to give that up. I didn't want to be connected to one person for the rest of my life. I would come up with every reason. I'm unequally yoked. I felt like I was closer to God than she was, which was an absolute joke. Just whatever my mind could come up, whatever the devil could convince me that was, I would use that excuse. Finally, I started listening to the Lord a little bit. I just never knew that it would turn out like it has. When I started giving in to Him, when I started praying every day, when I started reading my Bible, when I got serious about leaning into Him, at that point, the only thing that I could see was to get married. I was scared of it, and I had every right to be scared of it, but my wife was not the one that done those things to me over the years. My wife today was not the one that caused those things in my past. What was odd was I was dating her when she was 15. 30 years later, we get back together. Today, I can see God's hand in every bit of it. I finally do propose to her. I decided to keep my hands to myself. I decided to serve the Lord with all my heart. And when we made that decision, I went all the way with it. There's still times that the devil gets in my head a little bit and tries to pull me back to the old me. And there's times that I let him rent space up there for a couple hours. A lot of times I find myself at work wrestling that maybe for an hour or two. And then I thank the Lord for the power that He's given me over that. I know how to address that today. I know that my prayer life is key. I will stop in the middle of my job site and I'll hit my knees. I don't care who I'm around or what I'm doing. And just ask the Lord to take these thoughts away from me and help me guide me through these situations. I married my wife. We just celebrated a year just a couple weeks ago. I had no idea what God had for me through all that. What I learned is what real love is something that apparently I was searching for the whole time. My wife loves me unconditionally. She knows everything that I've done to her, and she still loves me. I don't know why. But God had a plan with every bit of it. I've never had anybody love me like that. She's an amazing woman. She wasn't raised to be a Christian or anything like that, but the love that God's placed in her heart is truly amazing. I never was going to give another woman a chance to hurt me again. And I can see that's why I was doing what I was doing for all those years. I hurt a lot of people during those times. But God sent me somebody, an absolute angel, truly. She reads the Bible with me. She studies with me. She prays with me. She's got my back no matter what. And it's all because of God, every bit of it. We surrender to the Lord with everything that we do. We've been that way for a year now, a little over a year now. We serve wherever they want us to serve. It doesn't matter. Whatever the Lord tells me to do, that's what I do. I've completely surrendered. The money don't mean nothing to me. The work don't mean nothing to me. If somebody calls me, that's what's the most important thing, where I'm serving at. Today I'm altar team leader. Never would have seen that, that's for sure. I'm able to direct 22 people today, and every day it's a situation with somebody. Every day it's talking to them about how their prayer life is, sending them scriptures, sending them podcasts, different sermons. It's what I consume my life with. It's really, outside of my wife, it's all that I care about. I just want to serve the Lord with everything that I've got every day. whatever's going on outside of work. I mean, and I'm at work. I work for myself. God's blessed me with my own business again. Um, Whenever I'm at work, it's whatever that phone call is that I get. That's what it's about. I'll stop working. God will bless me with whatever. If I need money, He knows that. I don't even care anymore about it. I don't mean to make it sound. I don't know. I don't know how to put the words, but it just doesn't mean anything to me. The work don't mean nothing to me. Um, it's what I can do for Him that day. It's what honor and glory that I can bring Him. I literally get up every morning and pray and ask Him to use me. Let me be the hands and feet, Lord. Let me bring honor and glory to your throne in whatever I'm doing. I just want to make Him proud of me. I know I can't earn my salvation, but I do want to make Him proud of me every day. Like I said, I've been blessed with an angel, and she's everything to me today. Our walk with Christ is everything. She knows it's my most important thing. I don't want to say it interrupts our life, but it is constant. God's constantly sending somebody our way to help them with their walk that day. Every night we're up till 9, 10 o'clock. We'll have intentions on watching a movie, but that won't happen because I'll be on the phone with somebody, helping them with their walk. And it is a blessing and an honor. It's not I'm not prideful about those things. It's an honor that God uses me in that manner, and allows me to bring honor and glory to Him. I still feel very unworthy of all of it. But it's an honor to get to serve the Lord every day. I wish I would have gave in a long time ago. I wish I wouldn't have hurt my wife the way that I did. But every bit of it, God had a plan. And I'm glad that I finally surrendered to Him. That's for sure. It's changed my life. All I worry about is just serving Him, and that I make Him proud of me in whatever we do. It's a blessing to be at Field of Grace and to be able to serve the Lord with all of our hearts for me and my wife. But that's my story and His glory.